How's it going, YouTube? We're back with another match from Digifest. This time, this is actually the only game of myself that I recorded. I thought I was going to be able to record a lot more matches, but my phone battery and storage is just not that great. But I do have rare matches, and this is the only one we have of myself. As you guys know, I did end up going 3rd place at the end, which is pretty exciting. This is going up against a Gabubond deck, as you're going to see here. Now, Gabubond, dominated BT6, BT7. It's not as... it's not the top deck that it once was, but when combined with the hybrid package, there's definitely some synergy there, and it's a deck that is super scary, and I would definitely be afraid of it if I ever ran into it in a tournament like this. You can see that I opened up with the Gabubond, which is pretty good. A lot of people were asking me this weekend, like, hey, was the Gabubond good at all? Like, did it do something? Was it, like, is it a card worth playing? And what I would say is that, like, as a blocker, sure, in this format, it's not the greatest thing ever, but it's still nice to have. But beyond that, it being a 1-cost evolution is actually really, really big. Being able to choke my opponents to 1 is actually a huge deal. So in that sense, I would say the Gabubond was good, yeah. We went into a Beowulf right away, but it looks like it's going to be stunned. And so even though he's playing, obviously a full Gabubond package, the idea is that he still has access to all the blue hybrid shenanigans, or at least, a good amount of them. You can just Digivolve over the mat. But on top of that, you have the crazy Gabu warp into Bond of Friendship, which is absolutely insane, as we all know if you played BT6 at all, right? Gonna be searching for some pieces here. Setting up the Boko with the Koji in the back is pretty solid. My deck, is definitely pretty aggressive, and against the Gabubond, like, the triple swing is pretty scary, of course. Now, he hasn't had the flower one, he's had the one that from the EX, the Gabu that searches, which is pretty good. He can add any Gabumon or any Tamer, right? So, I'm sure he plays Tamers that are more than just the mat. And as you're going to see here, sometimes they just want to Digivolve, use the mat, which is fine. He has a lot of memory to work with, probably going to go into a Korikaku and keep my Beowulf frozen, making it kind of awkward. There's some matchups where the Beowulf is insane, and there's some where it's just not going to do that much. He's got the new Beowulf, going to bounce back to Boko. I think bouncing back to Boko is pretty good. Like, sure, I get to replay it, but like, you have to realize that that's a big tempo loss, right? Like, if you need to spend 3 memory, like, sure, Boko is good, but like, you're still spending 3 to get 2 back, right? Like, it still costs you something most of the time. Beowulf is finally going to get the swing, but I hit right into a Hammer Spark. So my aggression is kind of cut short. I definitely wanted to swing with the Stravi and, potentially set up something else this turn. Hey, but it'd be like that sometimes, right? Now, there's the Gabu. I feel like we're still in a pretty decent spot. His Beowulf died in security to Magna, which is honestly a big deal. If it had survived, we probably would have been in a bit more trouble, but that was definitely a good security check for me. Obviously hitting the Hammer Spark is bad, but so be it. The Mad giving him extra memory to work with. Mad just very good card in general. And again, you're just the blue Tamer, so they could definitely work with it for a lot. Gonna go into the Korikaku, and now he's gonna start the stun. Okay, we only have 1 memory to work with. The Pokemon was bounced, so we're not gonna get the free memory there. We have a lot of Stravis though, don't get the Upa draw. Hits another Tamer, so security checks for me have been kind of bad, right? First check Hammer Spark, second check Little Matt. Definitely a bit of a struggle. And looks like the Boko is gonna be the play for me. I definitely need memory to work with. I need to way to utilize the Koji that we have sitting on. Have, pretty much all picks of levels 3, 4, 5, except for Magna, which I probably have Magna in hand at this point. Like, I play 4 Magna. I think when you're playing against a deck like mine, it's probably safe to assume that they're always going to have at least the 1 Magna to work with. Which, is pretty scary. That's the thing about Koji, right? It's like, Koji can turn into a Magna at any point. And yes, while it is expensive, like, if you have Pokemon, you get 2 memory back. You have Koji to give you an additional memory, so potentially sometimes you can go into Magna for 1, which is pretty crazy if you think about it. Gonna get a bunch of cards right here. The Upamon checks nothing. That's a Hammer Spark and an Ice Wall gone, so pretty good for me. However, he's doing a good job of putting pressure on me, and he's got memory and Tamers to work with. The BT4 Kendo is a pretty solid card these days. I think it's pretty relevant in the meta. A card that I myself sided in, but ended up not, or put it in my side deck, but I never really ended up siding it in. But you know, I think it's pretty interesting. Like being a hybrid, being able to bounce level 3 is pretty strong these days. He sets up another mat, which is super scary. Like at this point, with double mat, he's guaranteeing that next turn is gonna have enough memory to go into the bond of friendship no matter what. And I definitely am not gonna have enough security to survive, right? We need to answer this full board and then just hope that I don't lose to the bond of friendship. It's definitely a tough turn for me. So we're gonna see what we could do. I do have the memory to work with. We do have the Koji as well. Just looks like there's a lot of thinking, and I'm glad that I was able to record this match. I wish I had recorded more of my matches, to be honest, but also I wanted to record more people and not just myself, right? But I hope you guys enjoy this one. There's the Kendo into the Beowulf. Here's where like the Koji is, once again, in my opinion, like, and not that it's, I'm not saying Koji is better than Tommy, but like in situations like this where like you wouldn't get anything out of the freeze, like getting the memory back from Koji is actually a big deal, right? That said, I swing and hit another mat. So at this point I'm like, okay, he's gonna have memory no matter what. I realistically can't choke him, like I have to pass something. Then he's gonna be getting an extra 3 memory after that. We have low 5s, which are definitely just gonna get tucked by the bond of friendship. And at this point, you know, him drawing 4 cards this turn, like there's no way he doesn't have it, right? Now he is only at 2 security, so he goes into it. It is gonna cost him, you know, the rest of his security. I'm gonna hammer spark on top of that just to be sure he's extra safe. Goes into the bond, down to 3. Ask him what the security was, so David's in there. So this guy's security was insane, right? Like absolutely crazy. But it'd be like that sometimes. I'm gonna use the bond effect to tuck one of the Beowulfs. First check, it's a nice wall, which unironically is going to save me, right? Because now he's at 1. He's not able to go for game with a hybrid. So at this point I'm like, okay, I probably won, right? Like he's gonna security. But he hard drops Mechanorian. Like this is game 1, right? That means that this guy main decks Mechanorian, which normally is pretty good. But we do have technology against it. I do play Korikakumon. Because I have a hybrid, it makes it unable to attack and or block, and then Korikaku swings for game. So in this game, I'd say we were having a nice back and forth. I would say that we both had good securities. It's easy to look at that last turn and be like, oh, you hit a nice wall, you just got saved by security, right? But the reality is like his security was pretty good too, right? I also hit a Hammer Spark and a Tamer, and then another Tamer, right? So if anything, I would even argue his security was better than mine. But such is the nature of the game, right? So close game here, we're going into game 2. I don't remember exactly what I cited. I think I spoke about this a lot, but you know, I barely used my side deck, like barely used it. The main card that I was siding into was Trident, and even then I would side it in like a 1-off, maybe 2-off sometimes. And when I did side it in, like 90% of the games that I sided in, it just didn't come up, whether it be because I didn't draw it or I couldn't play it. Like it didn't have a huge impact. And I don't know, like, I think that maybe that means that I as a player wasn't utilizing my resources, my side deck as best as I could have. But at the same time, like, I played well. You know, my deck functions well with, you know, its base list. And I did well at the tournament, obviously, right? So I don't know, it's hard to say. Side decking is, it's an interesting thing to think about. Okay, going into game 2 here, we're going to see who's going to go first. But you can see how the Gabubond plus the hybrid package, very scary. I think it's one of those decks where like if everything goes according to plan, the deck is absolutely insane. But because you have like sort of 2 engines, even if they work together, I feel like it's still gonna be just a little bit less consistent, right? Like he's not gonna get the full freeze experience as you normally would. And I mean, Gabumon is still good, right? The Bond of Friendship is insane. It's not like those cards are any worse, right? Okay, gonna start with a Stravi, try and choke him with the Koji. He's like, hey, plain mat, no more choke. In a case like this, he takes the Bond of Friendship, which now we know he's gonna have that for the rest of the game. And what I was gonna say is that if he took a Kumamon, then as a player, I would have just assumed that then that means that he had. I would assume that he just had the bond already. Going to the pre-release Beowulf, absolutely insane. Once again, you know, we have the jamming, we gain the memory. Such a strong combo. I absolutely love this combo. So I have to explain to him that, you know, Kendo gets jamming and then it's passed over. It's the same Digimon. A lot of people don't play Kendo though, so I mean, it's fair that people don't know, but it's just so good because like when the regular blue hybrid deck does this, you're always taking a huge risk, right? I mean, happened to my opponent last game, right? Beowulf swings at 7 and like, yeah, 7k is pretty good, likely to survive, but he can also die very easily. The fact that my Beowulf has jamming and is guaranteed to live, I think it's a big deal. We check into a Luisthepanda security, which again would have killed me. But I'm also like, bro, why are you playing Luisthepanda? Not to say that it's like bad, I just think it's kind of crazy, but it's interesting for sure. Then we're gonna play a Pokemon, see what we pick up. Definitely need more tamers. You know, my list has been posted a lot, obviously, since we got top 3. A lot of people I see mentioning like, hey, you only play 8 tamers, that seems like so little. Which is fair, definitely a fair, you know, critique when you look at all the other decks. But at the same time, in my experience, like 8 tamers is more than good enough. Because my deck runs all the Strabbies, it's actually so easy for me to search those tamers. I rarely feel like I don't have enough tamers, is what I would say. And I guess what I really want to say is that if you see my list and you've seen it do well, but you are unsure because you're just so used to the other build, just try it, you know, play it. I would say, obviously I'm biased, but my list is way, and I mean way more fun than the other list. And in terms of like how good it is, like, I'm not saying my list is superior or anything like that, but if you've never tried it and you're just confused or like, why does this work? How does this work? Why is this good? Why don't you try it out? Maybe you'll like it. Here we're not in the greatest position. We've done a lot of damage, but you know, the freeze is there. I think it's just a matter of setting up tamers. There's the Davis. Gonna probably take the Magna or the Beowulf, depending on what my hand is. It's gonna be the Beowulf. So if I was my opponent, I would be like, oh, he already has Magna in hand, right? Just when your opponent reveals cards and they add something, like, think of what that means, right? Think of what you can make an educated guess of what the rest of the hand might be. So once again, he's in that position where like he's got the Gabumon, he's got the Mat, he's got hybrids to work with, which is very, very scary, right? Even right now, he could like promote, go to 4, go into Bond of Friendship, Hammer Spark, hybrid after, like that's already so many swings. Kurikaku swinging into another Beowulf. I feel like, you know, I kind of want a Koji insecurity, something like that, but at least Kurikaku dying is definitely good for me. He's going to keep the Gabumon in the back and just set up another Mat. I think he's definitely just set up for a next turn game, right? We do have a ton of memory to work with though, because the Pokemon is out there. Now granted, I believe the Beowulf can't attack. But that's still 3 attacks, potentially 1 more if I can get a restand. So you see me doing some math being like, hey, can I go for game this turn? Swing Strabby. So we need 3 more attacks. We have 2 guaranteed, right? So I need 1 extra one. The question is, where's it going to come from? Beowulf, we go back to 3. Swing at security. It's another tamer. Boko swing. Survives. Then I go Hammer Spark. At 4, we can Digivolve Beowulf into the Magna, and people don't know this, Magna's effect can restand any Digimon. It does not have to restand itself. So I restand the Kendo that could still attack with jamming and go for game. I think this game is a good example of like the speed and aggression of my deck. Like, yeah, the Gabumon was very, very scary, and at any point he could have gone into a Bond of Friendship, like he probably would have won next turn. But my deck was able to keep up with the speed. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed that, and stay tuned for more Digifest videos.